Yes, T.B.Photo X1.5 TFX, and welcome back to another video. Well, here I am sitting among some diving and photography related gear, but I'm also reading another one of the propaganda magazines that you get when you work in healthcare, and this one is actually the University Hospital's own internal magazine. It's something that comes out quarterly. But yeah, this time it was a little bit interesting because the final issue for 2020 was not specifically about COVID, but it was actually about BFC, or Bildfunktionscenter, or which in English becomes something like Image and Function Center, which is basically radiology, where I work. So yeah, there's a lot of things here. It's about PET, CT, new PET centrum, thrombectomy, and you know, all sorts of things. And then they have one specific segment in this magazine that is called what should we translate? Not really the journal, but yeah, someone who's keeping a journal. And I think that everybody can be in it nowadays. It seems like here in radiology we make the invisible visible, and this is a piece here by a radiology nurse. Yeah, it's all manner of propaganda. Oh shit. Yeah, I was actually featured in this magazine, so that was a little bit of a fun thing to do. I had to write a bit of how it is to work in radiology, and a little bit about how radiology has had to adapt to the COVID pandemic and so on. So yeah, it's not the Lancet, but it was very interesting to be featured in the internal magazine for Uppsala University Hospital. That was actually quite something. But anyway, yeah, tomorrow's fish and chip paper. But anyway, let's go on, shall we? Well, here's the thing. I managed to get a little bit of a auction win at Tradera, a site that I've plugged I don't know how many times before, and it was this. Well, first, a little bit before we go into this little magic bag of tricks. You know, when you find something, you just put in a search term and you get all the results and you scroll through them. Yes, I know we're into the holidays, so a little bit of a Christmas brew here. Keep in mind, this is not high alcoholic. This is a 3.5 alcohol by volume beer, so it's something that here in Sweden you don't have to go to Systembolaget to buy. You can basically buy it at any convenience store. Just to keep it a little bit in the holiday spirit. But anyway, when you find something, I was actually looking for diving related paraphernalia, a little bit about, I looked at Poseidon gear and so on, and something caught my eye. You know, when you just find that thing that, screw it, you just have to have it because it's such nice little trivia. I found this old CD, and just the name alone made me just, I had to have it. It was really, yeah, I'm probably going to be censored for this, but this is just factually what they're called. They're actually called, it's a trio. They're called Nitrox C. Yeah, Nitrox C. And this little CD contains four tracks actually: Wetsuit, Equada, the Nitrox C. and Trimix. So yeah, it was actually a little bit of a fun thing to find. So I thought this CD, okay, the pamphlet, yeah. But I mean, this CD just screams mid-1990s. I mean, and what was a little bit interesting is when I studied the photo on the cover, it is actually Poseidon dive suits they are using, and they're awesome. On the back of this CD case, there is actually a little bit of diving related images as well, so I thought that this was really a fun piece of trivia to have. Tequila Records, Nitro C bit, who's a bit. That's basically the name of the CD. But anyway, let's go to the main thing then now, shall we? Let's do it like so, because that's part of the exhibition. There we go. Well, I was looking a little bit at underwater photography related gear, and as you can see, I'm already invested a bit in from before sea&sea and Nikonos. In the previous video I did a little bit about the Nikonos Nikon SB105 flash unit and how it can be used with modern digital underwater cameras and so on, because it has a slave unit in it. Well, here we have the little bit more of the vintage vibe, the Nikonos 3 with the 50mm or 35mm lens, and the SB101, which was one of the first underwater flashes that was made by Nikon for their Nikonos line. So yeah, anyway. Well, I found this auction then with this entire little case here with some photography goodies. It was this, I can't remember the model number, but I think you can see it here, otherwise I'll just put it in the description and so on. Well, it was a sea&sea kit, the DX860G. Here is the underwater housing for it. A little bit of a thing, I'm doing this now because when I got this entire kit, I sent a message to the seller telling the seller that, well, it arrived good and well, everything was in the bag, so to speak, except for the camera itself. So that has been posted and it is on its way to me, I'm sure, but I at least got the underwater housing for it. Well, this is one of sea&sea's first compact cameras for underwater photography, and I think it's one of those very low, you know, it's a 6 or a 7 megapixel camera, so it's not a powerhouse by any stretch of the imagination. But what I've started to really like about sea&sea, and what makes me a little bit drawn to their products, at least when it comes to flash and so on, is their modularity. I mean, this one here has a, you know, you can really turn in exact and more of an exact amount of flash power. It comes with, you know, things like diffuser and so on, but more importantly, this thing as well has an optical slave mode in it, and the camera housing, if I can fish this back up again, on the top here you have the power button, but in front of it, it has a little bit of a socket here, and that is because this one has a built-in flash. You have this little control on the front to put a diffuser over the flash in front and so on. Probably gonna do it like so. But what you can then have is this. While sea&sea did before, you have a perfect example there with a sea&sea Motor Marine 2, and the Nikonos system up here, they use traditional cables to connect between the camera and the flash. sea&sea and a lot of other contemporary have gone a different route that is kind of more interesting. I don't know if you can see this little piece here. This is actually a fiber optic cable, a very thin fiber optic cable, and the way you use it is basically that you put this into there and you put this one in the front of the flash unit, and you get a flash connection via the slave unit. So when the on-camera flashes, it will send a signal through this cable to the flash unit, and you will get a flash exposure. So that's very interesting, and these are interesting because there are a lot of adapters and so on for these, so you can have like T-junctions and so on, so that you can use it with multiple flash units. So that's something I really enjoy with the sea&sea line of cameras and flashes, that they are so modular. And I also got this nifty arm setup that I think is, if I can get it out with not everything tipping over. I mean, here you have a plate where you actually, where you attach the camera, and then this one actually had two arms for flashes and so on. So it's also very modular, so I can take away pieces and put other pieces on here probably. And yeah, so with this tray I can actually have double flashes, or I can put a video light on one of them and so on. So it's very flexible, the entire setup. And I also got a second fixing plate. So that was very, very, very cool indeed to be able to use it in different circumstances. So let's see now if we can just put it back here gracefully. Let's see, there, something like that. Perfect. So that makes it that this little old user guide might come in handy in the future when it comes to the sea&sea system. So I might be able to use this, since this is a little bit of a cheaper camera, and even though it is made for scuba diving, it is really made for underwater environment and so on. It will be, a learning experience, so I can learn with something small, easy like this. It is made to be handled with gloves. I mean, if you look at it a little bit, you can really see that it looks a little bit like the cameras shown in Finding Nemo. The only thing I have a little bit of a think about, what I'm thinking about when it comes to this one, is on the back with all the control dials and so on. I can see in the future that it might be a little bit finicky to use it while having gloves on while diving, but that's something for the future, something to learn. Here's another little trinket that was in the box that I have had the plans to buy myself, but these are actually kind of expensive, so it was very neat that this was in the bag. It's a lanyard. So basically the premise is that you clip one of the ends of this off on your BCD or BC or your harness. Then you use this this clip, and you have this steel wire with a rubber outer, or some kind of rubberized outer coating, outer shell I should say, that makes it so you can tether yourself to different equipment. So the way I intend to use this is basically that I remember I saw I think it was Tested, the YouTube channel Tested, link to them in the description below, that they had they visited the Neutral Buoyancy laboratory, and they talked about how astronauts are trained to use different tools in space, and how their system is that they always have their tools tethered to them, that they never should have anything untethered. And that's a little bit of the way I intend to use this one. So maybe I use this. I don't really like the plastic snaps here. I might modify this with some real metal bolt snaps or carabiners or anything to make it a little bit more robust. But anyway, I think this part secured to the BC, and this part with the key ring, have this so I can clip it off to different things. I mean, here on the standard camera strap for the Nikon O's, I have actually a secured chain loop and a single-ender bolt snap, so I'm able maybe to do something like this or something closer to the carrier plate, but this is just a concept of functionality. So this one clipped to the BC and this one clipped to the camera, so I have the dexterity to use it, but that I also have a method of retrieving, and if I drop it, it's not lost. So that's a little bit of the methodology behind it. So it's not a dedicated lanyard for any specific piece of gear, because if I'm not using the gear, it should be stowed away, making me more hydrodynamic. But when I'm using something, I have a lanyard to clip it off to, so even when I'm using it, I'm not using it completely freehand. But I think that's a little bit for me for now. Basically, the main part was actually the little magazine article. Very interesting experience. Would happily do it again. But keep in mind, one is very wary about how the text you have written will be received by the readers. So yeah, that's a little bit of the caveat there. In other news, basically, yeah, I know that 2020 is coming to a close. I mean, it has really been a year of hindsight, pun intended, and a lot of things that have happened, some good, some not so good, but the pandemic has basically been a burden on us all. Actually, last week I actually had to take my second COVID test, since I work in healthcare and so on, and it turned out I had been exposed to a person who had tested positive, and I had to go and get that nasal swab, and it is it is just as that CD is named. So yeah, it sucks. That's basically it. But anyway, I think that this is all for me for now, and from me to you, happy holidays and a continuation, and hope that 2021 will bring something different from what we have had so far in 2020. So yeah, as always, this is Tobias Bergström from T.B.Photo X 1.5 TFX. I'd like to see you guys in the next video. And as always, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. So take care from now on. Bye.